The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation presents Who Were the Ones? Stories and ballads about the North American Indian people, written and sung by Micmac Indian Willie Dunn and narrated by Ojibwe Indian John Yesno.
Who were the ones who bid welcome and took you by the hand, inviting you here by our campfires? As brothers we might stand.
Here is the story of the Battle of the Little Bighorn, the famous encounter in which General Custer met his death. But in this view of history by Willie Dunn, the general has a less heroic role than in Hollywood portrayals.
In 1876, on the 26th of June, night clouds rode beneath the South Dakota moon, and riding too was General Custer, with all the men that he could muster. 500 men, coast blue. Benteen Reno was there too. He rode off through the night.
He was a general with long, flowing blonde hair. Unknown to either Crazy Horse or this dashing young officer of the 7th Cavalry, they were both to play a part in a blood-filled history of the West that would ironically immortalize the name of General George Armstrong Custer forever in the history of America. In 1868, General Custer attacked the Cheyenne Black Kettle's village. This was the second and last time for Black Kettle. The Cheyenne and Sioux never forgot that massacre. Neither did they forget the general with the long hair. The years 1868 to 1874 did not see too much in the way of fighting. This peace ended, however, when General Custer came back from a military survey in the Black Hills announcing the discovery of gold. Soon the Black Hills were swarming with gold seekers who came in from the Far East like rats. The Black Hills were sacred to the Sioux, who generally converged there annually to perform the Sundance rites. Aside from the fact that the gold seekers were scaring away the buffalo, it was hard enough to find food anywhere. It was the same old story all over again. The greed of the white man, the political pressures brought to bear, and the end result of armies in the field to round up the obstructing Indians, throw them off their land and into government-sponsored concentration camps. Sioux and Cheyennes under Crazy Horse, Gull and Sitting Bull resisted all attempts. In 1875, General A. Terry sent a note to Sitting Bull, the great Sioux chief, declaring that January 1st, 1876 would be the deadline for him and his people to get on to the reservations. The note further stated that if they did not comply, the U.S. Army would have to capture and bring them in. Sitting Bull sent back a haughty reply, saying they would have to come and get him. That very spring, Generals Crook and Reynolds left Fort Fetterman to do just that. It was General Reynolds who moved in advance with 10 troops of cavalry, who was first to locate an Indian village in the Powder River country along Clear Creek. This was the village of Crazy Horse himself. The village was sleeping when General Reynolds and his cavalry thundered down upon it. The Sioux and the Cheyenne were startled in the face of a mighty onslaught. However, under Crazy Horse, they quickly turned the tide of battle, and before long a retreat was sounded, and the cavalry dashed off, leaving their wounded behind to fend for themselves. Again on May 26th, Crook encountered Crazy Horse and his warriors on the Rosebud River. It was a pitched battle in which all of Crook's 14,000 men were engaged. At the height of this bloody encounter, fresh new warriors led by Little Hawk, American Horse, joined the embattled Sioux, and within minutes, the Indians had the upper hand. The Sioux made an offensive which drove Crook back to his base, and again Crazy Horse was the victim. A great chief and his brave warriors were like a wolf fighting a running battle with a pack of hounds. It was at the Little Bighorn where the wolf stopped and waited with his brothers for the hounds to appear again. In June, General Terry and a huge column of men began marching towards the summer encampment of the Sioux and Cheyenne. At his advance was General Custer, who commanded the 7th Cavalry. Terry advised Custer to remain ahead of the column and to use his own judgment if the situation required momentary action. So with these orders, General Custer set forth, and on the 24th found a huge trail and followed it to the Little Bighorn River.
Till the early hours of the morn, they crossed the Rosebud River and came to the Little Bighorn. And all the braves were sleeping peaceful. That old Custard was so grateful, because he wanted to catch them lying down. Had to hit them before they left the ground. Down into the valley.
Here, on a sunny, pleasant meadow, on a calm morning of the 25th of June, 1876, lay the greatness of the Sioux and Cheyenne nations. Here were chiefs Crazy Horse, Sitting Bull, Gall, American Horse, together in one gigantic village that ran for 6 miles in length and a half a mile wide. General Custer was especially remembered by the Indians for the Washita massacre. Custer split his men. Major Bantine, taking 3 troops, was sent to circle the far left, but did not encounter anyone. Major Reno, with 3 troops, and Custer, 5, rode head-on, with nothing but victory in their mind, into the many thousands of warriors.
And all the braves were sleeping peaceful. That old Custard was so grateful, because he wanted to catch them lying down. Had to hit them before they left the ground. Down into the valley rode Custer and his boys. Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull was awakened by the noise. And so the braves of a whole Sioux nation rose to meet their situation. An American Horse, he was there too, and Gall was sign of the Sioux. Down into the valley rode Custer and his men.
Thus commenced the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Among Reno's command, there were 52 killed and 52 wounded. All of Custer's men were quickly wiped out, including the general himself. Altogether, there were 317 killed and 52 wounded. This was the height of the Cheyenne and the Sioux. This was the height and glory of Crazy Horse, Sitting Bull, Gall, American Horse, who all took part in one of the greatest and glorious Indian victories of the West.
In 1876, on the 26th of June, night clouds rode beneath the South Dakota moon. And riding too was General Custer, with all the men that he could muster. 500 men, coats of blue. Bantine Reno was there too. They rode off through the night till the early hours of the morn. They crossed the Rosebud River and came to the Little Bighorn. And all the braves were sleeping peaceful. And old Custard was so grateful, 'cause he wanted to catch them lying down, had to hit them before they left the ground. Down into the valley rode Custer and his boys, crazy horse and sitting bulls awakened by the noise. And so the brave of the whole Sioux nation rose to meet their situation. An American horse, he was there too, and Gaul, the scion of the Sioux. Down into the valley rode Custer and his men, 317 were never seen again. And that's the end of this story. Poor old Custer lost his glory, and then again he lost his wife, 'cause that poor old general lost his life.
This has been Who Were the Ones? One of a series of stories and ballads about the North American Indians, written and sung by Micmac Willie Dunn, narrated by Ojibwe Indian John Yesno, and produced by Alan Yates. This is John Grenfell speaking. The series is made available to this station by the International Service of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
Who are the ones who bid welcome and took you by the hand, inviting you here by our campfires? As brothers we might stand.
The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation presents Who Were the Ones? Stories and ballads about the North American Indian people, written and sung by Micmac Indian Willie Dunn, and narrated by Ojibwe Indian John Yesno.
Who are the ones who bid welcome and took you by the hand, inviting you here by our campfires? As brothers we might stand.
Here is the story of Poundmaker, a famous Cree who played a prominent part in Canada's Riel Rebellion, and who also ended up in penitentiary for his efforts to ensure the survival of the Indians after the decimation of the buffalo herds.
Poundmaker, your day is dawning. Far to the north your stars are rising. For now the truth is known. All the lies are falling down.
This is the story of Poundmaker, chief of the Cree Nation. Poundmaker was adopted in youth by Chief Crowfoot of the Blackfoot. There, in the heyday of the Blackfoot upon the sunny plains, he spent the greater part of his youth. The Indians, then as now, gave names as they saw fit. Thus, if a man was gifted in some way, they would give him that particular name, which described his day-to-day behavior. In the days of the English-owned Hudson's Bay Trading Post, the currency used might well have been the English pound, among other things, of course, such as whiskey, blankets, or horses. Therefore, the name Poundmaker might logically suggest one who can make a pound. In any case, Poundmaker returned one day to his Cree Nation, possessing many horses and a host of other articles of prestige, many of which he gave as presents to his people. Later, because of wisdom and practical things, and universal knowledge of both white man and Indian, he began to have a larger say around the council fire and became more prominent in tribal affairs. At this time, the United States government, in a move to draw Sitting Bull and his Sioux down into the States, killed off the large northern buffalo herd. This they did by shipping out west hundreds of skilled marksmen, setting the Canadian prairies afire from points all along the border, thereby keeping the herd in the States so they could finish them off.
The buffalo hunters, they went on a spree, killing millions. Oh, what a tragedy, for there was nothing left, while our government looked on in piety.
This action drove the starving Sioux out of Canada into South Dakota. One result was that most of the Canadian Plains Indians suffered as well. This, in turn, was beneficial to the Canadian government, as they now held a bargaining position to get the Plains people onto reserves. The Plains people forfeited large tracts of land in return for food, before the advancing settler now lay all the land he could ever hope for. Unfortunately, the government did not live up to its noble promises and treaties, and thousands of plainsmen were shortly reduced to a state of starvation. Cree in the Battlefoot area, too, heard the death rattles of the hungry, the promised food laid in the storerooms rotting there. You cursed when you saw the hungry dying, and hunger was the word, the only thought you had to share. It hurt to hear the starving children crying. Your braves broke into the storeroom near Battlefort and took the food that was meant for them. For empty stomachs can't be filled with empty promises, and soon death would have to be the payment for your inactiveness. In 1885, Poundmaker and his people on Cut Knife Hill were refused rations. Some of his followers broke into the government stores at Battleford to get them. In retaliation, Colonel Otter was sent to teach them a lesson. We know it as the Battle of Cut Knife Hill. Warrants for his arrest were circulated, and it wasn't long before Poundmaker surrendered voluntarily.
Poundmaker, your day is dawning. Far to the north, your stars are rising. For now the truth is known. All the lies are falling down. You were born a Cree, a roam constantly, hunting buffalo upon your own accord, living under Crowfoot's wing. You finally left to battle for the buffalo hunters. They went on a spree, killing millions. Oh, what a tragedy, for soon there was nothing left, while our government looked on in piety. Poundmaker was tried and sentenced, got 3 years for all his honesty. 1 year in jail was what he spent. Died depressed, distraught and sick. But Poundmaker, your day is dawning. Far to the north, your stars are rising. For now, the truth is known. All the lies will soon be gone.
Here now is what Willie Dunn describes as a nonsense song, a light-hearted ballad called Collection Blues, about a young half-breed who could not understand why he was punished for taking too literally the preachings of Christianity. Well, I'm just a typical half-breed, got no land, got no deed. All I do is drink my wine, love my women till the sun shine. Easy life, no strife, ain't got no wife. Well, a preacher came along, and he said, "Hey, boy, do you think that life is some kind of toy? You gotta quit smoking, women, swearing, clean up your life, and do some Bible bearing." Well, I got up, gave a lurch. Next thing you know, I was in church. Well, I stood around, hands in my pocket, listened to the preacher. He sure could talk it. He said, "Good men, give to the poor," and slammed his foot down on the floor. Looks like he really meant it. Well, a bag on a pole came my way, loaded up with coins. What could I say? I remember the preacher said, "Give to the poor," so I grabbed the bag and headed out the door. Well, here I am sitting in jail. Haven't seen the sun. I sure look pale. Haven't had a drink for nearly a year. And I'm still wondering why I'm here.
Well, I'm just a typical half-breed. I got no land and I got no deed. All I do is drink my wine, love my woman till the sun shines. Easy life, no strife, and I ain't got no wife. Bug me and hound me. Well, the preacher came along and he said, "Hey, boy, do you think that life's some kind of toy? You gotta quit smoking, drinking, women, swearing, clean up your life, do some Bible bearing, quit eating, drinking, all that jazz." Well, I got up and I gave a lurch. Next thing I know, I was in the church. Stood around with my hands in my pocket, listened to the preacher, sure could talk. Doing his thing, hopping up and down on the pulpit, just like a jack in the pulpit. Well, I stood around, hands in my pocket, listened to the preacher, sure could talk. He said, "Good man, give to the poor," and slammed his foot down on the floor. Looks like he really meant it, real sincere. Well, a bag on a pole came my way, loaded up with coins. What could I say? I remember the preacher said, "Give to the poor," so I grabbed the box and head for the door. Real kind of slow, like taking long mountain steps. With a grin on me. Here I am sitting in jail. Haven't seen the sun, sure look pale. Haven't had a drink for nearly a year, and I'm still wondering I'm in here. It's like Willie says, some sort of racial injustice.
This has been Who Were the Ones? One of a series of stories and ballads about the North American Indians, written and sung by Micmac Willie Dunn, narrated by Ojibwe Indian John Yesno, and produced by Alan Yates. This is John Grenfell speaking. The series is made available to this station by the International Service of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
Who are the ones who bid welcome and took you by the hand, inviting you here by our campfires? As brothers we might stand.